Hello and welcome to Some Dude Shed. From the shed.
Hello.
Hello. I'm joined by Mr. Red and
Hello.
Mr. Black.
Hello.
Hello.
And I'm Mr. Grey.
Hello.
And we'll be going through some stories and we're basically going to work out whether they're real or not.
True.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Right, well, I'm done.
So you get bonus point for that?
So, Mr. Black, do you want to take it away and give us the first story?
Hell yeah. Tomatoes were put on trial in Salem for being satanic.
Tomatoes?
Yep.
Or tomatoes?
In Salem, right? That's the place with the witch trials.
Yep. Same place.
When was this?
The tomato trial took place in 1820.
Tomato trial?
Yeah. They were put on trial.
Okay. Right.
The witch trials were 1692 and 1693.
Around the same time Blackbeard was sailing around.
Yeah, but the tomatoes were 1820, so considerably later.
Okay, right. So why was it put on trial?
Right, so...
Hold on, it was the farmer that was put on trial, right? They didn't just have a tomato sitting in the booth while they asked it questions.
No, it was like a big sort of like public thing. I'll sort of get through it here quickly, but so the Salem witch trials, they were 1692. 200 people accused of sorcery, and 20 of them were executed. None of them were burnt at the stake, which I thought was like a thing, but apparently it wasn't true.
Oh, okay.
And the story of the tomato is they were imported to Europe by the Spanish from Mesoamerica, so that's like Central America.
Yeah, that's right. The tomatoes were invented by the Aztecs.
Yep. Although they were enjoyed in that region of the world, many Europeans didn't really take well to them. Like, they knew they were edible, but they mainly were used as decorative plants to start with. They were especially disliked in the British Isles and American colonies. In the late 1700s, it was like a time of extreme religious tribulation. Pretty much everything came under scrutiny, and the tomato was one of those things. It was nicknamed the swelling fruit because it was like big and, you know what I mean?
Big and red.
Big and red, yeah.
Engorged.
Yeah, and so because it was like big, bright, and red and all that stuff, they associated the fruit with like danger and death and sin.
So do I every time I eat a pizza.
Yeah, pretty much. It was also nicknamed the poison apple to kind of allude it to the forbidden fruit that Eve ate in the Bible.
It doesn't say it was an apple in the Bible. It could have been a tomato.
It could have been a tomato, yeah. Don't eat that special tomato. But there was one genuine reason for their fear. There had actually been cases of people eating the tomatoes and then they were just like dropping dead, like maybe a few hours later, maybe even a week later. And it's because so they were eating them on pewter plates, and pewter's like loaded with lead.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the acid in the tomato would like react with the pewter, and then they would eat them, and then they would end up like they would have lead poisoning, and then they would just die.
Eating stuff off lead is just a bad idea.
They didn't know that at the time though.
Yeah.
But so they
Yeah,
were
they
like
also had like lead plumbing and lead-based makeup.
Hold on a minute. Let's not question about the material choices they put in fucking tomatoes on trial here.
Okay, right. Yeah, let's fast forward to the tomatoes here.
So that's why they thought, well, tomatoes are clearly satanic because people are dying whenever they eat them, even though it was the lead in the plates. Over time, scholars and physicians also classed them as evil aphrodisiacs and extremely toxic.
So hold on a minute. Did they actually get like a court together that had a judge and they bought a group of tomatoes in and set them in the dock?
Well, the trials were kind of like there was no like dock, so to speak. The trials back then were kind of like, what was there, like a podium, and then there were like the accused would be sitting there and there'd be like a whole crowd of people, like, you know what I mean? They weren't especially formal like today, but there was one man, Colonel Robert Gibbon Johnson, was sick of all this, and he wanted to prove to everyone that tomatoes were okay by staging the Salem tomato trial. On September 25th, 1820, Johnson stood outside of the Salem courthouse with a basket of tomatoes with a huge crowd. He then ate every single one, gorging them until they were done. The onlookers were stunned as he remained where he was stood, no symptoms of poison, no ill side effects, and he changed many minds from that day forward, and tomatoes became a staple of cuisine as it is today. So.
Right.
Okay, so everybody thought tomatoes were evil until this guy ate a whole basket of tomatoes.
Yeah.
And then everybody said, well, he didn't die. Guess they're all right then.
Yeah.
People hung a monkey thinking it was a Frenchman. I'm going to go with true.
I'm gonna say false on this. I can't imagine that one guy eating a lot of tomatoes in front of a lot of people would have swayed their minds about tomatoes being evil. It sounds a bit silly.
It sounds like an urban legend thing, to be honest, but it's so stupid. It might be true.
Well,
So I'm gonna go true. Yeah.
they executed 200 women for being witches. Not women, like some dudes too, like, but
Oh, that was 200 years prior.
yeah. Do you think people are any smarter?
No,
Do you think people are any smarter now from 1820?
not really.
No, people still listen to CNN.
Oof.
Ooh, fun. Take that, CNN.
Bitch.
So, what do you think? So you're
I'm saying false.
I'm saying true.
radio. Yeah, it's bollocks.
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 It's bollocks, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But did people actually think tomatoes were evil?
Initially, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it wasn't so much like a big widespread thing. It was sort of like just like people were getting sick from eating them. So they're like, they just thought they were just poisonous. Like you shouldn't eat them.
I wonder if people thought the same thing like about potatoes and stuff. Because they came from Aztec land as well. Or if they thought potatoes were evil.
No, it wasn't. It was just literally because people were eating tomatoes, like because of the acid on the plates.
Right.
Did you come up with this yourself, or is this an urban legend?
It's an urban legend.
Urban legend.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, well done. That's very good. Right. So moving on
Moving on.
to
One guess where mine takes place.
World War II.
Wrong.
World War One.
Wrong.
Cold War.
Wrong.
Vietnam.
Wrong.
last year.
Wrong.
Don't know.
French Revolution.
Close. It's revolution in the name.
Oh, well, so many countries have had a revolution. You're gonna have to.
It's the Russian Revolution / the Civil War. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Okay.
A very happy time in history.
And so this takes place not long after the October Revolution, 1917.
Remind us who's in power at this point.
No one in particular.
Right. Okay. So we're at that awkward in betweeny phase then.
Yes, well, it's coming towards mid to end 1918, and the Red Army is, let's say, established, and the White Army is newly formed.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the Red Army, who's made up of the Bolsheviks, who want to create a communist state, and you have the White Army, who
They're the royalists.
they're the royalists. They're trying to keep the Tsar in power.
So royalties versus
Royalists,
commies.
royalists versus communists.
Don't really know who's worse, do we?
Are we allowed to say it?
Commies.
I don't
I would
know.
say the commies are worse, to be honest.
Probably.
Somebody rolled up to your house and says, "Yeah, see that."
Like, Tsarist Russia wasn't a nice place to live, but I think the communists made it look better.
Still, Tsarist Russia wasn't very nice. From what I understand, it was very poor. That's basically it.
Everyone was poor back then, though.
Yeah, it
Was
doesn't really matter what your government is. If you got no money, you got no money.
Didn't have gulags, though. So this is in a small town in the north of Moscow, where it was a munitions depot.
Okay.
Well, it was more of a fort. So a lot of these forts actually got turned into Soviet gulags, after the revolution. Basically, it was held by the White Army, and there was a storage depot for naval ordnance. So big shells for battleships and of the like.
Okay.
The Red Army was advancing towards this fort, and they were told to basically seal away all of the heavy ordnance for the battleships. But the order was misinterpreted by the commanding officer, who took it as to seal away all ordnance. That's including the ordnance for the garrison. So just basically like rifle rounds and machine gun rounds,
Right.
which has left the garrison with a small amount of ammunition, basically whatever they had in their person. So basically, whenever the Red Army came, they sieged the fort. Quickly ran out of ammunition. Needed more bullets. So they tried to open the storage house back up again, and yeah, the guy had the key got kind of blown up, so they couldn't have the key anymore.
How?
Well, they're being sieged by the Red Army. A shell hit him or something. I don't know.
Right.
So
Okay.
he got blown to pieces. Took the key with him. And they kind of had to resort to medieval style tactics of using debris and bricks, hot oil, bayonets. It was actually motor oil and just Molotovs because they had plenty of vodka.
Of course. Of course, they had plenty of vodka.
Yeah, and so basically it was turned into a bit of a medieval siege. They were actually holding them off, but they just ran out of food, surrendered, let the Red Army in. Bad idea. Executed all the officers and the NCOs and sent everyone else off to, work camps. That was it. So basically, did this fort seal away all its munitions, and they had to fight a medieval style battle.
Well, that sounds like the kind of thing that could happen.
Especially back then, yeah.
A miscommunication in Russia, I'm guessing you probably got quite a lot of dialects of Russian about, so I suppose misinterpretation could happen quite easily.
Well, don't forget, this is all sent by the beeps as well.
Oh, it's all Morse code and stuff.
Well, it's telegraph.
Yeah. I was guessing in a rush, you just send the message, please lock away all munitions.
All ordnance.
Yeah.
And misinterpreted as all ordnance.
Yeah. So yeah, I can imagine this being true. And the bit about soldiers fighting them off medieval style, I can believe that as well, because they did that in the trenches too, didn't they? In the First World War, which was only the other week. So yeah, I can say true on that.
But with that, do you not have to like sort of report back the message? Like, so you sort of go copy that, just put away all ordnance or something? Like, do you not have to sort of like copy back the message you heard to confirm it was the right order? I thought that was the protocol for that kind of thing.
Maybe, but this is chaos. Doesn't even begin to describe this time in Russia. Like,
yeah, confirming messages. I can imagine them not doing that.
Fuck it, true.
You're both gone true.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds right to me.
I completely made it up.
Bollocks.
Oh really? Oh, well done.
You nearly lost me at the hot oil. Like, what the fuck? You went to pour hot oil over the top.
Well, it's motor oil.
Nah, but you would have huge, massive quantities of that. Like,
And what I actually meant to say was that it's just motor oil that could have, poured down. Could have came to the gate of the fort and they could have poured it down, set it on fire. That's what I meant to say, but I was just trying to get my work. I was just trying to get it out, and I kind of skipped over it.
pretty good.
Yeah, well done. Well,
So thank you.
well, now we're down to my story. My story is not as epic, or as grand, or as amazing. This is from way back in the ancient times of 2009.
Jesus Christ. Way back when the Motorola was still a thing.
Oh yes, absolutely. Have you heard of the Segway?
Yes.
The vehicle.
The standy up two wheelie.
Yeah, it's like a
thingy?
stand up. It's like a scooter thing, but you got two wheels down by your feet.
Yep.
So lean to turn around. Like made famous by Paul Blart, the
Mall Cup.
mall cop. Right. Well, one of the main guys who was responsible for making it as popular as it was a guy called Jimmy Heselton. He was one of the main shareholders in the company. And the story of this is he was out on taking it for a ride on his Segway. He was going through a park in England, and he drove it off a cliff and died.
True.
Was that it?
That's basically it. Yeah, he was.
So he what was he doing when he drove it off the cliff?
He was just riding his Segway about, and he fell off a cliff footpath into the River Wharf.
That's perfect. Sums it up perfectly. Because anytime I hear about a Segway, it's always because somebody crashes it. Or, like, you never hear any good stories about a Segway.
Where was this again? Sorry.
This is in England. The River Wharf is what he fell into.
Where is that in England? Any ideas? Where is that in England?
Where
Any
is it?
ideas?
Oh, I don't know. Hold on, just a moment. I'll open this other Wikipedia page. I never expected this line of questioning. The River Wharf.
No, I see. I feel like he said Wikipedia page there to throw us in the. Oh, he's looking at Wikipedia. It must be true.
No, I think he let it slip in a fluster.
No, I think he's planted the Wikipedia. Even if it's on Wikipedia, it doesn't mean it's true.
Yorkshire.
Sounds about right.
It sounds about right. Yes. Oh, yes, there are cliffs in Yorkshire. Must be true. So yeah, that's basically the story. He was out for a ride on his Segway, and he drove off a cliff and died. Despite the fact he was the one who basically was one of the owners of the company that made the thing.
Did he die from the fall or something else?
And it's not clear, but his body was found in the river. He was riding a special rugged off-road version of the Segway at the time. I don't know if that doesn't really make any difference to the story, but it's a fun detail. You can't really make a Segway rugged. You can put as much extra off-road stuff on it as you can, but you're never going to look badass on a Segway.
No, it's like that F1 Twizy. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
What if big guns on it?
It's still going to look like a Segway, though.
Fuck it, true. Because, I mean, Segway people, they're always falling over, and I've heard of people dying because of a Segway,
I kind of feel like the way you threw that Wikipedia page thing in there is probably just a... But then you might be a double bluff. I don't know.
Oh, I can tell you I'm probably not that clever.
But now you might be bluffing even more. It seems like something would happen, but it seems like someone's really easily made up, so I think you may have seen a Segway recently. I just thought, wonder if I can make up a story about a Segway.
Did you watch Paul Blart recently? Is that what happened? You did, didn't you?
I can't comment.
You
I'm
did
afraid
watch
that
Paul
might give it
Blart?
away.
This could easily be true or false. I'm just going to say false, actually. So.
You say, so what's the true or false? What's the actual true or false?
Did the major shareholder of the Segway company drive a Segway off a cliff?
False. The major shareholder?
Well,
The major shareholder or the biggest one?
well, he bought the Segway company. Sorry, I got my dates wrong. He bought the Segway company in 2009. He died in 2010, and a year afterwards. He was the owner of the Segway
You're not
company.
clicking on anything. You're making it look like you're clicking on something, but you're not actually clicking on anything. I'm going to go false.
Fuck. I'll just say true then, because you're going false.
Well, guys, I can say that it is true.
Yes.
Jim Heselton.
I mean, it's sad that he died, but yes. It's true.
Jim Heselton, the owner of the Segway company, fell to his death after driving a Segway off a cliff.
It may have been a simple story, Mr. Gray, but you played it well. You
Like,
know,
in fairness,
looking at this, looking at that. Oh, I'm dropping hints.
in fairness, if I rode a skateboard into a canyon and died, I expect people to laugh at that.
You'd be in The Simpsons.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, Homer Simpson survived that.
The skateboard?
Yeah, surely you remember the episode when Homer Simpson tries to jump the canyon.
Was it a skateboard though, or a bike?
A skateboard.
What?
He was trying to teach Bart just how easily he could die, and then he decides not to do it, but ends up going down back.
rolling downhill anyway.
Oh yes. Well, there you go.
There you go. So there's life lessons to be learned here from this episode.
Don't trust a Segway.
Yes, just be careful when you're riding your scooters and stuff.
And people weren't that stupid to put tomatoes on trial.
And that's the end of the show.
Yep. Till next time.
Goodbye, everybody. If
Goodbye.
you've been affected by any parts of this show, emotionally or physically, please let us know in the comments, and we'll be sure to ignore you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.